Okay, we are recording. Welcome to our virtual studio, David. It's so great to see you again. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, you too.
It's been a few months since Winnipeg has been treated to a GroundSwell concert. I thought we could start by talking about how GroundSwell's 2019-2020 season was affected by the pandemic. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's been such an unusual time for everybody, but we were a little bit lucky actually last season because our 2019-20 season actually ended on February 8th.
Wow.
So our regular season concerts were done and we were on to the next thing. One unfortunate byproduct of the pandemic is that we were going to have a tribute concert to Diana McIntosh. And so, as you may know, she last season was her final season with GroundSwell. She's one of the founding artistic directors, so she's been there something 28 years or something. So we wanted to have a free public concert in April to celebrate her legacy at GroundSwell and her career as a composer. And that was going to be a big free gala concert at the WAG, but we had to cancel that. So that was too bad because it was we did a lot of planning and had musicians all hired and everything. And one of the things I was planning to do at that event was to do a subscription drive for this year for ticket sales. It's a great opportunity to get early bird tickets out. So that was lost as well to the pandemic. So it wasn't too bad. One thing though that I'm particularly sad about is some of our outreach initiatives, and one in particular we had started a project with J.H. Brunn's Collegiate with composer Peter Meekum and Steve Denby. And we had a couple of meetings with the students and they were working on ideas for a new piece. So we had to postpone that, but hopefully that'll come back.
So is there as far as the Diana McIntosh thing goes, are you, as GroundSwell, are you guys thinking about featuring her maybe at a later date? I mean, she's was such a mainstay of the institution.
Yeah.
So,
That's a plan. We're going to do an online concert, so a kind of a tribute to Diana. So
right.
she's provided us with some pretty interesting archival footage of her thing, and got some interviews with people. And so I'm just actually putting that together now to put on to put through our website. So that'll be available at the end of the month.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
GroundSwell has been going on for 30 years. You usually present 5 regular season concerts a year, as well as outreach and special events. How do things look going into the 2020-21 season?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? Because the way they look today may be different tomorrow. So, but what we have planned is the regular 5 concerts for the year. But when the pandemic hit in March, we just decided, you can't be scheduling things in September of 2020, really. I mean, we just didn't know 6 months ago. So we moved everything into January. So we're going to have our 5 regular live concerts starting in January, and essentially one a month, January to June, sort of spread out. So that's what the plan is for the live series. But this year we thought we'd try something a little bit different. We have a live series, which is kind of business as usual. We have a learn series, which is our education and outreach. And some of those are new and some of those are kind of based on past practice. But the really new thing is this year we have a 3rd series called GroundSwell Linked. And so that's basically stuff online. And the Diana McIntosh concert that we just talked about is one of those events. But we also want to have interviews. We're going to have interviews with curators, and hopefully master classes and maybe lessons and discussions. But also, I've had our video archive digitized over the last few months, and that's close to 30 years of video content in all these different formats, right? Beta, VHS, Betacam, Hi8. And so now they're all available and I can start putting stuff up. So it's really exciting to get this long range view of GroundSwell's history in a video through GroundSwell Linked.
It seems like such a massive job. I mean, the stuff would need to be just knowing what I know about converting vinyl records to digital format, it's got to, does it all have to be played in real time and then converted? Is that the way the process would work with the transition from VHS to digital and beta to digital?
I think that's how it worked. We actually hired somebody to do that, because it's a huge job. I mean, even just cataloging and making a list of what you have
Right.
is huge. And we had an archival project a number of years ago that kind of listed what's in the office, and then I kind of took that over and figured out what we had, where the gaps were in both our digital, audio, video, and print archive, and then started putting that stuff together. And we basically, I made a inventory, and I shipped all of that material to a company in Winnipeg, Ironstone Technologies. And
Wow.
my understanding is that that does have to happen in real time, because VHS is an analog format, I guess, and it's just one thing after another. So it's nice to have MP4s or whatever they are, so that you can scrub through and see what you want to, what's of decent quality. And so,
And the thing about groundswell concerts is there's very often a multimedia aspect to them. So it's not only about hearing these amazing sounds, but there's also very often a visual aspect. So you actually, when you're seeing this stuff, very often it's helpful to see the visual component to that as well, right?
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the shows over the years have been cross-disciplinary. So you have dance and you have theater, and I mean, one of Diana McIntosh's concerts actually was held in a horse equestrian stable, right? So I've got some footage of that. I mean, it's brilliant. So yeah, so it's been a lot of fun going through that stuff, but it's a huge undertaking, and but it'll be worth it to get that stuff out in the
Yeah,
world.
it sounds great. And once it's digital, it's digital. It's there, for eternity.
Yeah.
I imagine part of this upcoming season is just being flexible as well, right? Part of the equation I think everybody's dealing with is nobody's really sure how long this is going to go on for. Um, are you thinking in regards to, I'm thinking here in particular with the live concerts of aspects of finding new venues if needed, or doing any like um, maximum uh, occupancy for the rooms? Is that
Yeah.
crossed your mind at all, or?
Yeah, no, that's always a concern. And I think one of my concerns is we had to change, we had two concerts at Canadian Mennonite University, which is a great venue. And we had to change them because they're not allowing any outside people, understandably.
Right.
And so we have two concerts at the U of W convocation, or no, at Eckhart Grammatik Hall.
Yeah.
Um, and so one of my concerns, and as you say, we don't know what the future will bring, but also we could be in one place kind of as far as distancing and capacities and everything now, and then in a month it might change. So that's part of the issue, is that things can change very rapidly. So I'm a bit concerned about our venues for next year. And as far as capacity and distancing, I think the venues will impose those kinds of restrictions on us. And I mean, not luckily, but I mean, GroundSwell doesn't attract hundreds and hundreds of people to shows. So we average about, 70 to 100 people for a show. So if you're in a venue like the WAG, the Muriel Richardson Auditorium, you can distance 50 people quite easily in there. So
Right.
no, it's going to be an interesting season. And I mean, one of the other issues is the handling of money, for example, paper money. Even paper tickets, paper programs, things like that. And so all that stuff is in the planning stages, really.
Right. It sort of leads nicely into my next question. Maybe briefly talk about the Groundswell live concerts that are going to be happening in 2021. Do you have any particular highlights of things that you're super excited to hear and see, or performers that you're interested in hearing and seeing? Do you want to talk a little bit about the live series?
Yeah, sure. And actually, just before we got on this call, you mentioned, things are changing. So it's the plans now could change, but certainly we're going full speed ahead with what we have planned. So in January 17th, we've got Leanne Zacharias, who's a Brandon cellist. And she'll be releasing a new album around that time. It's called Music for Spaces. And it features contemporary solo works that are recorded out in the world, in the environment. And it's really sounds like a very interesting project. She's also got choreography from Lysandra Dodson, who's in Fredericton now, and she used to live here. And also Christine Fellows, who a lot of people know from as a composer of theater and songwriters. And she's actually started to do a stop motion video. And so she'll be doing some of the visual elements for that concert. So that's Leanne Zacharias. And that concert, actually, we're doing 2 showings of that show. So 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. on January 17th. So that'll be an interesting mix of things. And one thing I should mention is that GroundSwell traditionally has guest curators every season. And this season we have 2. Actually, we have Leanne Zacharias, who I just spoke about, and then Chris Cole as well. So she's the former executive director of Send and Receive Festival. And she currently lives in Berlin. So that's Leanne's show in January. And then in February, we have the Bozzini String Quartet from Montreal. And I think a feature of that program is 3 newly commissioned pieces. Sorry, is that me beeping like that?
I think so.
It is. Yeah, sorry about that. So we have a piece by Alyssa Cheng, who plays in the quartet. And then we have 2 brand new pieces by Manitobans, Jim Hiscott and Kristen Wozniak. And those pieces were commissioned by the Manitoba Arts Council. So that's going to be a really, really great show. So that's February. In March, we have David Berman, who is an iconic sound artist and composer. He was one of the founding members of the Sonic Arts Union with Gordon Mama and Alvin Lucier and Robert Ashley. So this guy from that generation of composers. And so he'll be here. With Cleek Schrey, who's a young fiddler. So they're coming from New York. So that's one of the ones I'm a bit concerned about, travel and quarantine and stuff. And so that's Chris Cole, one of our guest curators concerts. And then in May, middle of May or so, we have Trio Exchange, which is a trio made up of 3 local musicians, Micah Helbrun, who's a clarinetist with the Winnipeg Symphony, and Elation Pauls, violinist, and Maddie Hildebrandt, who's a pianist. They have a trio, and they'll be doing a concert for GroundSwell. And this year we were able to commission a Toronto composer, David Braid, for a new piece. And so it's actually a GroundSwell commission, so we're really excited about that. So that's in May. And then in June, getting late in the season for us, we're going to bring Standing Wave, an ensemble from Vancouver, and they've been around for close to 30 years, and they're just a fantastic group. So yeah, they've actually commissioned over 100 new works over their career, so they've been in the business, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, these concerts are in different venues. Like I'm just looking here. One of them's, or actually, I think a couple of them are at the Crocus Building at the Rachel Brown Theater, which is an amazing, amazing venue. That one that you were talking about with, I think it was the Introspective Small Talk, the guy from New York. That's going to be in the Rachel Brown, and that's going to be. I'm just thinking about the venue. It's going to be amazing. And then a couple of concerts are happening at the University of Winnipeg Zachar-Gramate Hall. So It sounds like a phenomenal season.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. And actually, I should just mention the David Berman concert. That's going to be, the concert itself will be in Rachel Brown, but we're going to have a talk before that at 5 o'clock in the Art Space building in Video Pool Space. So it's going to be nice to get that perspective.
Yeah, for those listeners who don't know, the Art Space building is kitty corner to the building that the Rachel Brown Theater is on. It's literally right across the street.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a good opportunity to go and go to a lecture, then go out for supper in the Exchange, and then go to a concert. Get some action down there. I've been downtown recently, and it's so funny to be in that part of the city where there's hardly any activity. I mean, there's usually a jazz festival and the Fringe and all of these things over the summer. It's just wasteland.
It's been a interesting summer, that's for sure. I mean, I remember working in the Exchange District, and yeah, July and August it was always hopping with Fringe Festival, Jazz Festival, etc. Yeah, so
For sure, yeah.
interesting. Um, one of the added bonuses of the Groundswell season is that you're going to be doing some archival broadcasts here on Classic 107. Can you talk a little bit about that? We're all here at the station super excited about this. Can Tom mention that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so wonderful that these opportunities are presenting themselves, and I'll thank 107 for that, because it's a great place to hear new work, and you've got such a diverse and adventurous audience, I think, out there, that this is maybe really timely. So the idea is that I just went back over some of our past seasons, and I thought we could do highlights of some of those concerts. And we have archival recordings, and they're pretty decent quality recordings. So I just wanted to kind of repurpose those and get them on the radio and build some shows around them. So for the moment, I've got one show that I believe you're working on right now.
Yes.
Or somebody is anyway.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. So it's highlights of the 2018-19 concert season. And it's two pieces from two different concerts. So in October of 2018, we presented a concert called Voice and Percussion. And that was curated by Michael Matthews. And that was a concert featuring Sarah Jo Kirsch and a percussionist from Toronto, Ayun Huang. And so I've got a couple of pieces I chose from there to present on that highlights concert, and that's going to be on October 4th, I believe it was, wasn't it? A Sunday?
Sunday, October 4th. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one half of the concert. And the second half of the concert is from a show we did in April of 2019. And that was curated by Diana McIntosh, one of her last shows, her second last show, actually, for GroundSwell. And that's got a couple of pieces featuring two symphony players, actually. Sean Taubner, a cellist, is playing a piece by Jim Hiscott. And then there's a piece by Brandon composer Kenneth Nichols, and that's being played by Robin McMillan on English horn. She's also in the symphony, and her mother, Gwen Beamish, who's from Toronto. So it's going to be an interesting four pieces and some, nice text woven in between by you or some host. But
yeah, and interviews with members of people who either composed pieces or who performed on those concerts. Yeah, I'm in the process of putting that together. So yeah, and two great Manitoba composers with Jim Hiscott and Ken Nichols. Ken Nichols was a long-time composition faculty member at Brandon University. I studied with him when I was there. So yeah, it'd be nice to talk to Ken again. That's for sure. Yeah, so it sounds great. David, I know all of us here at the station are super excited about this broadcasting series of concerts with Groundswell that's going to start happening on Sunday afternoons. Groundswell's programming is always so dynamic. It should make for great radio. David, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me, and we'll chat again in the future about this upcoming season. It just sounds just great.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot for making the time, and yeah, we'll talk again, I'm sure.
Absolutely. If you out there want to find out more about Groundswell's 2020-2021 season, go to classic107.com and you can find all the details there. Thanks again, David.
Thank you, Chris.